Welcome to the channel for the first time viewers. Welcome back for my existing subscribers. I have a different take on the Nvidia and EVGA situation. I just kind of want to talk out loud, and this is more speculation than anything else, right? So I don't have any concrete facts that this might be the actual case of what happened. So those of you familiar with the situation, EVGA announced that they're no longer releasing Nvidia GPUs or GPUs in general. They're getting out of the business, which is terrible because I'm on my third EVGA card. I've had nothing but fantastic experiences. I think, my personal opinion, aesthetically, that they are the best looking card, followed almost directly by the Asus ROG Strix. I didn't like the new Strix. I like the 10 series and the 20 series ROG Strix better, but that's just, again, personal preference, right? I was, watching some of the content from Gamers Nexus and Jay's 2 cents, and it dawned on me. When I first joined PC gaming, I remember we were in a GPU craze, and throughout this year, we've kind of seen crypto tanking since, I would say, about February. So since February, we've seen crypto tanking. We've seen not overstock per se, because miners were still buying. It's just that the signs were on the wall. Like, you would see a GPU in stock at Best Buy for more than 15 minutes. The lower tier cards were starting to become a little bit more available on the AMD side. So little things like that were happening. But again, taking it back to 2018 when I joined PC gaming, the GTX 1080 was really hard to find until about April that year. And it's because there was a mining craze. The easiest way to get into PC gaming at that time was to just buy a pre-built, which is what I ended up doing. So aligning those two thoughts, those frame of references, I went back and found an article from WECCF Tech where they were talking about Nvidia buying back. And I'm trying to make this as clear as possible because I'm kind of thinking off of memory. And one of my points, I don't remember exactly where the source was, but this is a WCCF Tech article that I'll drop a link to, and it's from 2018. So it said one of NVIDIA's OEM partners allegedly returned 300,000 GPUs because of major inventory issues being cited for next-gen GeForce launch delay. So that's when they were getting into RTX, but we didn't know it yet, right? So what does that sound like? That sounds just like what was going on this time. We were being told that the RTX 4000 was going to be delayed because of all of the 3000 stock. Here's my little tinfoil hat, and I don't really think this is true, but again, I think that this is something that could potentially be explored, right? EVGA has a step-up program. EVGA also has taken major losses on all of their RTX cards pretty much at this particular time, right? So everything they had in stock. And a few months ago, I remember either Classical Technology or somebody that I watched was talking about how Nvidia was giving them a hard time, and it wasn't EVGA specifically, but Nvidia was not buying back the overstock. Whereas you reference this WCCF Tech article, you can see that they bought just from one board partner. So think of like just MSI or just Asus or just EVGA. One board partner sent back 300,000 cards. So apparently this time around, they were not buying back cards, right? So imagine if you had paid, let's say they were able to make $200 per card, right? Because from what we're being told, the markup is not significant. So let's say they made $200 per card, and you bought the card. It was supposed to sell for $1,900 or $1,999. And you bought it for $1,700, right? Okay, well, now you had to sell that card for $1,099, but you bought that card for $1,700, and you put your fan together, put everything together. So you're just losing about $400 or $500. So what, 17 down to 11. So yeah, you're losing $600 on every GPU that you sold. And because they have a step-up program, my thoughts are this. They took away the EVGA Bucks program, which I found out from Frame Chasers, which is like all the referrals, essentially gave you credit when people bought and used your code. But they took that away. And now, since they're not getting into the RTX 4000, if they waited 120, 200 days, let's say, now this has a flaw too, so we'll get to the flaw afterwards. Let's say they waited over 90 days. All of the cards that they just recently sold they would be able to not have to fulfill the step up program because all of us would be out of our 90 days, right? So with that said, it doesn't really address the fact that they have all this extra inventory, but if they waited out on the inventory that they had, sold through it at whatever price it settles for, take that loss there, and then kind of re-engage on the next generation of graphics cards, again, they don't have to do anything about the step up program, right? So we already established that. Like I said, the flaw in this thing, in this logic would be if they were to, let's say, for instance, somebody buys a graphics card in August of 2023 and they register it, and EVGA still has the step up program, which if they're saying they're getting out of the GPU business, I would consider that being discontinued. So if they discontinue the step up program, waited until all of the cards that had just recently been registered with the step up program in mind, past the 90 days, let's say they wait like 120 days or 6 months, and then they kick back up either as an AMD board partner, or they even start doing, the refresh of RTX and say, hey, our fans really missed us, so we're on our way back. I just think it will be interesting, because if you're looking at it from a loss perspective, you would lose out twice, right? So if you honored the step up program for RTX 4000 and somebody just bought a card that you lost your shirt on. So like I got my 3090 Ti for $1099, right? I sold my 3090 and I used that, flipped it right into a Ti model. Cooling is way better and I love it. But for someone like me, I would have been eligible for a step up. So I would have gotten the 4090 or the 40 in whatever they release, right? Usually it's an upgrade or equal tier card. But I'm looking at it like, wow, okay. So if there is no step up program because they're getting out of the GPU business, they would have essentially lost out on being able to make new revenue on the step up program. Let's say, for instance, the 40, we'll call it the 4090, right? Because we think that's what's going to be announced. So they released the 4090, make no extra money on it because they're just charging tax, and they're going to try to sell my 3090 Ti as B stock, so they further lose money. I think it would be a wise business decision. It's not an ethical business decision. And again, I just want to stress that I'm not saying they're doing this. I was just thinking out loud and how interesting it would be if this came, like if they started their GPU business again. But yeah, let me know what you thought about that theory. Am I like way off? Do you think that it has some kind of plausibility? Because I just feel like from being like literally, I'd say number 2, right? They're probably number 1. And I don't have any hard figures. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head. But when you think about the top Nvidia manufacturers, you really think Asus, MSI. I don't really think Gigabyte, because I really think their mid-tier and bottom entry-level cards are terrible. That's my opinion from just seeing other people's issues. And then you really think of EVGA. So again, crazy. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will catch y'all in the flip.